Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's 10-minute talk. It is Monday. Hey, before we go anywhere, before we do anything, subscribe to this channel, share this with a friend, hit that bell so you get notifications, and like this video. It's all very important to spread gospel of Jesus Christ today. Hey, today we're going to talk about a subject that, especially in the world of church, it can be an uncomfortable subject, and that subject is change. And change is something that is sometimes looked at as awesome and sometimes looked at as the most discouraging and scary thing you can experience. Now, we have all in the last few years experienced an enormous amount of change in the way things operate and the amount things cost, in the way people relate to each other, and how we go about managing our health and being aware of our surroundings. Things have just changed monumentally. And I know that in the church world, you hear the passage from Ecclesiastes, for everything there is a season, you know. That's a great verse and a great passage, and there's nothing wrong with it, but I don't think that is the best passage for change. I think there's other passages. I think that just states that there will be change, that there are different times of your life. And I think we just experience that naturally and know that. But today I actually want to look at James 1:17. So let's dive into that passage this morning. James 1:17 says, "Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of lights, with whom there is no variation or shadow due to change." James 1:17. So a couple things here before this passage. They're talking about desire. And I think it's important that we recognize that when we want something to change, we have to be careful that it's in God's will when we want it to change. That we're not trying to change it on our own. That we feel prompted to change, that we have prayed about the change. Okay, because a lot of people, when they think change, they think it's happening to me. But a lot of times, change, in fact, I would say more often than not, change is happening because of us. Because we've made a choice or a decision that causes that change. Well, if that's the case, then we need to make sure our change is led by God. That we're not just whimsically out making crazy decisions left and right because we aren't confident in the position we're in. Okay? Because desire can be just as fueled by sin as it can by the Holy Spirit. But when it is fueled by the Holy Spirit, and this is where this verse comes in, okay? When your change and your desire for change and your desire for movement is fueled by the Holy Spirit, what happens is you get these good and perfect gifts from above. Now, good and perfect gifts aren't always going to look good and perfect before they happen or even after they happen, because they might be good and perfect gifts that cause us to grow, that challenge us, that make us move in a direction that normally we wouldn't move because it's uncomfortable. But in the long run, in the God eternal timetable, they make us better. Okay? And it says they're coming down from the Father of lights through the Holy Spirit, with whom there is no variation or shadow due to change. So check this out. This is what I love about the wording here. Okay? Though our life is changing, though a bunch of stuff around us is changing, though we've had to make decisions that have caused change, and the Holy Spirit is the change agent in this instance, okay, causing good and perfect gifts from above, God does not change. There is no variation or shadow due to change. Okay? So what that means is this. God is going to remain the same in your life. God is going to be just as consistent and faithful and loving and gracious and merciful as He has been as you go through that change, so that those gifts, even when they're challenging, feel good and are perfect gifts from above. And then I want you to think about a shadow due to change. So sometimes when change happens in a bad way, what's left in the wake of change is bad. What's behind the change is bad. What already happened has been tarnished. Okay? But what this is saying is when God enacts the change, What's left behind is good. Okay, what's left behind will be better. When you look back, what is behind you, what you have moved on from, is going to be increased in blessing because you followed God, because you were obedient, because you followed his prompting for that change. Now, here's the thing. Sometimes when you make a change that is in God's will, you're going to get resistance from people. Why? Because people in general are broken. And they're not going to understand how God is going to work through that situation in immediacy. Okay? They're going to need to see the results later. And sometimes people won't wait around for that. But here's what you need to know. Their desire in that situation is greater than the Holy Spirit's desire. Because if they trust you to be a person of God when you've followed that change, and yet at the same time they're like, I don't like this change and I don't agree with it, then what it means is they may not be in tune with the Holy Spirit in that instance, or they may have lost trust in the Holy Spirit because it didn't go through them, which then they're idolizing. Okay, that's idolatry for themselves when they think, well, this change didn't go through me, so it can't be right. Okay, they're boasting on their own ability to read what the Holy Spirit wants instead of yours. Now, you have to be careful, or we have to be careful to not have the same problem. But here's what I do know. When you follow the will of God, there are times when it's going to look messy at first. But this is about eternity. This is not about short term. This is not about what happens right away. And it's always going to be difficult for some group of people. It's always going to be hard for somebody. Okay? Now, it can be hard in a constructive way or hard in a destructive way. And that, honestly, is up to the receiver of the change. Change is going to happen. Change is inevitable. Because this world is broken, we can't sit in one place for a long time. Because things start to fall apart. We have to move from place to place to place. And God is going to move us where we need to go and put us where we need to go so we can make the most difference for his kingdom. And that is how I believe change is enacted. Is we pay attention to God's will and it makes movements for the kingdom. Now, if we go on our own desires and we ignore what the Holy Spirit is telling us because we want that instant gratification, then change can be so destructive and move us so far away from God. And that type of change does not bring good gifts and is so variable and leaves so much shadow behind and destruction in its wake. And we've seen that happen. When people make decisions outside of God, it leaves destruction in its wake. So here's your question to answer for the day. What change is God calling you to make in your life, even if it's uncomfortable? What change is God calling you to make in your life? It's really scary to think about sometimes, because sometimes these changes are large and sometimes they're small. So hey, take the time to subscribe to this channel, like this video, hit that bell so you get notifications. We appreciate your support and the spread of God's message today. Have a wonderful week. Bye.